Greetings to the Saga lovers. Welcome back to the Saga Reveal. I'm your host, Madem-Oiselle. Perfect. Just double checking my sound. It looks good. Perfect. Here. Come on in. We are live on the tube. Let's chat and gab. A little bit of, my apologies, update on Canadian news here. Remember, this channel is only for commentary and entertainment. Whoops. I'm just recovering here. So yeah, it's for commentary and entertainment only. All right, so please hit the like button, subscribes for any notifications, and share with others. Alrighty. So here today, we're going to be doing a little bit of housekeeping first. We're going to go way back in the days where we had the wee scandal and the, what is it called again? SNC-Lavalin scandal in Canada, where things were halted from any investigations, although there was a how do you say it? Sorry, a ethics committee report that came out of it. So here we go. So here, Canada, the only hope here we have is Pierre. So today's a Monday, October the 20th, and we will be keeping an eye on question period. And I just want to let you guys know, it seems like Trudeau's disaster is haunting Carney's Liberal still today. And this is why the SNC-Lavalin and the We Scandal Foundation with the Trudeau Family Foundation had became a big scandal here in Canada. So we are Canada proud and we love this country, and that's why I am here with you, your host, Madem-Oiselle. So let's get on here. Let me stop sharing this video. Image. Oops, my apologies. Here, we are going to go to the screen sharing here. First, a video. Oh, actually, it's not a video. It will be a site. So let me share my screen. Haha. Let's go. So what do we have? Let's go back to the SNC-Lavalin. 6 years ago, roughly. Alrighty, let me share. Here we go. Let's go back here. It's a short video, but we are here for that. Just to be clear, this is definitely for what happened with the CTV News. And this is at CTV News broadcasting. Strategy session. Let's go. Let me put the full screen. Oh, full screen. Let me do this full screen up here. Alrighty. We are going to make sure, check on the speed. We're going to put it to 125. Let's go.
Welcome back. If there was ever a Monday crying out for strategic advice, this is it. The strategists have assembled in their usual spots with their usual political leanings. Let's get them started. Greg McEachern is with Proof Strategies. Kate Harrison with Summa Strategies. Carl Belanger, president. I won really quickly. They were scanning over.
Are you excited, Tony?
Let's get right to it.
What are we talking about today?
Okay, well, what do you first? Because you got your finger on the pulse. So I'm just wondering if there's a heart-pounding panic.
If he was doing a better job as leader of the opposition, the government wouldn't have to be both government and opposition.
Gotcha. That's a good line.
Yeah, nice try. But I think what that kind of symbolizes is, for this government, the biggest issues that they've had to deal with that have not been Trump-related have been self-inflicted. And I think that's a big challenge. I think this is probably a point where, from what I'm hearing from Liberal MPs, is they kind of distill it down to communications. This government does not have a Andrew McDougall, Peter Donolo, Scott Reed kind of communicator. They've got some very senior people, but through vacancies, whatever else it is, I don't know, but I'm hearing from a lot of Liberal MPs that they hear one of the reporters from the Globe and Mail broke the story saying that it was 12 hours before he but I'm hearing from a lot of Liberal MPs that, they hear one of the reporters from the Globe and Mail broke the story saying that it was 12 hours before he got a call back, things like that. No. You've got a cabinet minister. The call is coming from inside the House. You've got a cabinet minister who, in the article, comes out very positively.
Much better now.
Whether there's an involvement there by someone close to the cabinet minister, or someone else, I think that adds to the difficulty with the situation. But again, it's an election year, and I think there's going to be a lot more emphasis on rapid response.
You know what struck me today, Kate? I don't know if it struck you. Here's Justin Trudeau standing there, and he's explaining what went on, saying, oh, I've talked to her twice, and we've agreed that I did this. I directed you to do it your way, whatever you want. I still don't understand why he won't let her say that.
Yeah, and it's also a dramatic departure from what he said last week, which is that, there's really nothing to see here. And I take Greg's point that this is partially a communications problem, but to me, it's very indicative of how this government behaves and treats issues like this in general. Even today, the Prime Minister said there's a lot of people talking about this issue, so that's why we welcome the Ethics Commissioner investigation. Really? It's because a lot of people are talking about it. How about the fact that it's absolutely the right thing to do? And you probably should have been openly asking for this to begin with. So I think, to me, it's that flippant attitude that they are above these allegations. That's what's going to really hurt them down the road.
It's always the drip, 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 isn't it?
Yes.
Like, if you reveal all, then it goes away in one big bad news day, but a new day, new little drip comes down.
And that's because they have something to hide, and they're trying to hide
That's Trudeau's cabinet's been doing that.
it, and not very well. There's been a complete lack of transparency from day one on this file, from when they brought this so-called deferred prosecution agreement clause in the criminal code through a budget bill. It didn't make no sense. That was the first red flag, and it kept going and going until it blew up in their face just last week. And there is a case to be made, a political case to be made about making those agreements available and making sure that SNC-Lavalin and all the jobs that are going along with it are protected. But they're not making that case. They're trying to, manage with denials, and it's not working.
Greg, this is crisis communications, but are they failing to make the grade? Is it 101 fail?
Well, Don, I think the jam they're in is that the person who could answer all these questions isn't talking. And you kind of have to go back and wonder, everybody's kind of looking at the legalities of solicitor-client privilege and all these technical things. But let's go back to the day that Judy Wilson-Raybould was demoted in cabinet and released that extraordinary 5-page diatribe, which she had to know was going to cause problems for her own government and for her own prime minister, and may explain, in fact, some of the things that are going on now is that she's unpredictable. When we talk about things coming out in a drip, 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 she could stop that by going out and just saying what happened. Because it's a whole lot different in someone saying that they were pressured into doing something or urged to do something, and somebody coming along and saying, if you don't do this, you're going to be fired.
You know, the one thing that struck me is that the Prime Minister has this news availability and all these cabinet ministers and MPs are behind him. And Jody Wilson-Raybould is from that city, but part of the town. She doesn't show up on the weekend or today. So I'm wondering, can she stay in cabinet? Do you think that this is a case where she has to be shuffled out entirely?
Well, I don't know if the answer is clear on that. I think the Prime Minister tried to send a message today where that there were two conversations and the fact that she is presently in cabinet. Speculation, but if I'm new to politics and I open up a Pandora's box like this, am I aware of all the implications? I'm a former political staffer. I advised cabinet ministers. You were paid for your advice. You gave vigorous advice. I wonder if someone's pressure is somebody else's due diligence. I remember having a conversation with one of my ministers where I argued something very vigorously to the point where they were getting a little upset with me. And I said, look, when the door opens, there'll be no daylight between us, or I go somewhere else. And I think that's the way it should be for cabinet ministers. If she does indeed have a problem, then she shouldn't be in cabinet. I would have a tough time as a member of cabinet to sit next to her if I thought there was a direct line to the Globe and Mail. One other thing I think that's important to keep in mind, this is playing very differently in Quebec. It's very much about the jobs. And I think sometimes we do a disservice where we don't take in, it's very much a ROC, a rest of Canada point of view, but they're very much in Quebec. You see the pundits, you see the columnists, it's about the jobs. So that would be a pressure not only on Justin Trudeau, but as we've seen, Andrew Scheer, because everyone is trying to find a path through Quebec for 2019.
But if this is, I was just going to add really quickly, if this is a matter of a genuine miscommunication, and if the Prime Minister's office has as big an issue as they do with these comments being made, invite the ethics committee to investigate, and if there's nothing to hide, have her speak up and say so. That's why,
there's
to
also
me,
two court cases that I think we've kind of forgotten. There's the one against SNC-Lavalin, and then there's the court case where they're trying to argue that the public prosecution should give them a second chance. So there are other, besides the ethics, which Commissioner, which I welcome, because I don't know. Guess what? I think a parliamentary committee might be political and partisan in an election year. I think the ethics commissioner, and I agree with you. If I was the Prime Minister, I would have welcomed that. I think he did, but perhaps he could have called for it.
Can she stay in?
Too late.
She's in now.
Yeah, he says she's got confidence.
If I were her, I would just stay. Absolutely. Another vote of confidence. So she's going to hang around, because if she lacked the political judgment, as we've seen from the whisper campaign that's been going on against her, if she's not competent, if she's stubborn, if she's all these things, why did he keep her in cabinet? Well, maybe to protect his own bottom, and to cover his tracks. I don't know. But there's certainly some questions here.
Greg?
Wow. Okay, let's do that commercial.
Excuse me, sir. How old were you when you...
Wow, I want to hear that again.
Asked here is...
It is, I don't know, but I'm hearing from a lot of Liberal MPs that, they hear one of the reporters from the Globe and Mail broke the story saying that it was 12 hours before he got a call back, things like that. Now, you've got a cabinet minister, the call is coming from inside the House. You've got a cabinet minister who in the article comes off very positively. So whether there's an involvement there by someone
Case to be made about making those agreements available and making sure that SNC-Lavalin and all the jobs that are going along with it are protected. But they're not making that case. They're trying to, manage with denials, and it's not working.
Greg, this is crisis communications, but are they failing to make the grade? Is it 101 fail?
My apologies.
Well, Don, I think the jam they're in is that the person who could answer all these questions isn't talking. And you kind of have to there and wonder, everybody's kind of looking at the legalities.
Manage with denials, and it's not. And there is a case to be made, a political case to be made about making those agreements available and making sure that SNC-Lavalin and all the jobs that are going along with it are protected. But they're not making that case. They're trying to, manage with denials, and it's not working.
Greg, this is crisis communications, but are they failing to make the grade? Is it 101 fail?
Well, Don, I think the jam they're in is that the person who could answer all these questions isn't talking. And you kind of have to go back and wonder, everybody's kind of looking at the legalities of solicitor-client privilege and all these technical things. But let's go back to the day that Judy Wilson-Raybould was demoted in cabinet and released that extraordinary 5-page diatribe, which she had to know was going to cause problems for her own government and for her own prime minister, and may explain, in fact, some of the things that are going on now is that she's unpredictable. We talk about things coming out in a drip, drip, drip. She could stop that by going out and just saying what happened, because it's a whole lot different in someone saying that they were pressured into doing something or urged to do something, and somebody coming along and saying, if you don't do this, you're going to be fired.
The one thing that struck me is that the Prime Minister has this news availability and all these cabinet ministers and MPs are behind him. And Jody Wilson-Raybould is from that city, but part of the town. She doesn't show up on the weekend or today. So I'm wondering, can she stay in cabinet? Do you think that this is a case where she has to be shuffled out entirely?
Well, I don't know if the answer is clear on that. I think the Prime Minister tried to send a message today where that there were two conversations and the fact that she is presently in cabinet. speculation, but
I
if
mean,
I'm new to politics and I open up a Pandora's box like this, am I aware of all the implications? I'm a former political staffer. I advised cabinet ministers. You were paid for your advice. You gave vigorous advice. I wonder if someone's pressure is somebody else's due diligence. I remember having a conversation with one of my ministers where I argued something very vigorously to the point where they were getting a little upset with me. And I said, look, when the door opens, there'll be no daylight between us, or I go somewhere else. And I think that's the way it should be for cabinet ministers. If she does indeed have a problem, then she shouldn't be in cabinet. I would have a tough time as a member of cabinet to sit next to her if I thought there was a direct line to the Globe and Mail. One other thing I think that's important to keep in mind, this is playing very differently in Quebec. It's very much about the jobs. And I think sometimes we do a disservice where we don't take it in, it's very much a ROC, a rest of Canada point of view, but they're very much in Quebec. You see the pundits, you see the columnists, it's about the jobs. So that would be a pressure not only on Justin Trudeau, but as we've seen, Andrew Scheer, because everyone is trying to find a path through Quebec for 2019.
But if this is, I was just going to add really quickly, if this is a matter of a genuine miscommunication, and if the Prime Minister's office has as big an issue as they do with these comments being made, invite the ethics committee to investigate, and if there's nothing to hide, have her speak up and say so. That's why,
there's
to
also
me,
two court cases that I think we've kind of forgotten. There's the one against SNC-Lavalin, and then there's the court case where they're trying to argue that the public prosecution should give them a second chance. So there are other, besides the ethics, which Commissioner, which I welcome, because I don't know. Guess what? I think a parliamentary committee might be political and partisan in an election year. I think the ethics commissioner, and I agree with you. If I was the Prime Minister, I would have welcomed that. I think he did, but perhaps he could have called for it.
Can she stay in?
She's in now.
Yeah, he says she's got confidence.
If I were her, I would just stay. Absolutely, another vote of confidence. So she's going to hang around, because if she lacked the political judgment, as we've seen from the whisper campaign that's been going on against her, if she's not competent, if she's stubborn, if she's all these things, why did he keep her in cabinet?
She should be fired.
Well, maybe to protect his own bottom, and to cover his tracks. I don't know, but there's certainly some questions here.
Greg?
And to cover his tracks. I don't know, maybe to protect his own bottom, and to cover his tracks. I don't know. But there's certainly some questions here.
Don't know.
Right?
I think the one question that has to be asked here is if, in fact, she was pressured to a point to do something wrong, why did she not resign from cabinet? That would have been the proper thing to do on the spot and walk out. I don't think that's what happened. I think it's somewhere in between. The problem is we need facts to go with this story. And until that happens, she is just the decision I'm sure that the Prime Minister is having every night is, do I want a loose cannon rolling around the deck, or do I throw it onto the dock?
But it's something you pointed out to me when we're getting ready. Like this SNC's got a new headquarters in London. It's got 8,700 jobs here. If the company starts running in a roadblock.
Well, it's funny how he's emphasizing on about her trust in her government and her competence in her government. Well, it is our government's shady job, shady doing. And we all know Trudeau ran his campaign on having all of these women being in his campaign. And he used them. And this is why Chrystia Freelance lost it on him at the end. And why he basically prorogated for Carney to come in. Well, everything has its reason. To take us all away from what was important. The carbon tax chaos, the inflation, the death of our country that is pretty much strangling us here. That's me.
Here? The jobs go overseas? I don't know.
You have to remember that the context of this thing is the government being concerned about this case. This court case has been on for 10 years. And what the Justice Department wants to do is to ban them from doing any federal work in Canada for 10 years. This is one of the biggest and single employers, private sector employers in the country, 9,000 jobs, most of them in Quebec. And so is the government right to be concerned about it? You bet. And certainly in
last word to you on this. Where do you think this, how big is this
jobs.
Deal? How much, has Andrew Scheer got the traction to take them all the way to election day, or is this going to lose steam pretty quickly?
It has been galvanizing for the opposition. I think in isolation, this alone, no, this is not going to be what people think of
this
as
doesn't decide voting patterns.
Not alone, but then we had the revelation today in the Mark Norman trial that, there may be a connection to the Prime Minister's office looking to interfere. Yeah. In that case, that's a pattern, and that's when it becomes a problem. So I think if there's this continued slow bleed of stories which suggest ethical questions about this government and the narrative is on ethics, that's where the opposition has a chance to win.
I only got 2 minutes. I got to bring another quick story up. Manitoba Premier Brian Pallister, who's been living in Costa Rica.
Alrighty, stop sharing. So that was one other video of SNC-Lavalin, a chaos that happened. Let's go back to which one was it? Let me go back here to the We Foundation. Alrighty. No, not the We Foundation. Yeah, the We Foundation. Oh, actually, right here. Let's share this one. Share screen. Which one was it? The We Foundation. Yeah, Pierre's. Yeah, we got it here. Maybe some of you don't remember this one, but let's go back here. Go. Bill Borno at that time was our finance premier, actually. Here we go, MP. Yep, the minister. This is the premiere that I would love for us to have in Canada. Did you guys see how this guys came out here and showed us all these papers being blacked out from the We Charity Foundation that implicated Trudeau's family foundation, directly taking money for speaking and beyond and beyond and beyond, got money from foreign entities, all the way implicated our revenue agency here in Canada. And this was sad. Let's finish this and see how mad this guy is. He hasn't stopped. He hasn't stopped. And I think Canadians are now willing to give him a chance. I think within those 10 months of Carney, nothing happening, nobody know what he's saying or doing. Wait, I got another video about that one. Let's finish this one. Thank you. Here we go. That was our Pierre. That's the kind of man that we need to run our country's monetary budget. Not another Trudeau with no budget, not even an understanding of what a budget is. But the only understand is what a portfolio is. Sadly, this is where we are. Let me share my next screen here. Here we go. Nobody knows what this guy says or does. I'm telling you, that's been Carney all this time. And yet people voted for him. He did mesmerize a lot of people. Right? Okay, guys, wake up from this little magic spell. Okay, here we go. A mass of Latin words falls upon the fact of soft snow, blurring the outline and covering up all the details. The great enemy of clear language is insincerity. George Orwell. Well, good for you. Insincerity. Yeah, people playing with words. Let's go.
Multipolarity without multilateralism can lead to chaos. It certainly cannot achieve the Sustainable Development Goals, and that is catalyzing financial instruments using risk mitigation tools to better allocate risk between the public and private sector. So there's a lot of words there. What it basically means is recycling the balance sheets of our international financial institutions.
He said a lot of, okay, guys, let's just rewind it. He said it himself, a lot of all the words, but yeah, this is how he's talking about people. Let's go back.
Multipolarity without multilateralism can lead to chaos. It certainly cannot achieve the Sustainable Development Goals, and that is catalyzing financial instruments using risk mitigation tools to better allocate risk between the public and private sector. So there's a lot of words there. What it basically means is recycling the balance sheets of our international financial institutions. So all of those activities that catalyze in flows towards the SDGs. I will reference the work that has been done and needs to be completed on a cross-border carbon market, which could close 1/3 of the climate finance gap between now and 2035.
Didn't understand a word he just said? That's okay. I don't think he did either. You see, people who call themselves
all of that. He's still talking about carbon tax. We know the biggest, I would say, powerhouse, maybe the biggest and strongest economy country, maybe heading up to in the US. They got no time for this carbon thing. What? And here we are with Carney trying to impose a carbon program, financial program, recycling bills he's talking about. You know, you can't deal with the multipluralism and the multi-whatever dimensions. He is definitely gone on some 4D issues that nobody knows what he's talking about. But let's see what he says, because Pierre makes sense. Thank God someone makes sense. I think this country would not be where we are if we didn't have this great man here shining the light in the corners of Parliament Hill, bringing up the skeletons and the cadavers left behind from our elected officials. He's been there for years and years. He knows all of these corners. So let's listen to him again and we rewind it.
Between now and 2035.
Didn't understand a word he just said? That's okay. I don't think he did either. You see, people who call themselves,
People will charge me as being elitist or globalist, to use that term, which is, that's exactly, it happens to be exactly what we need.
often use words that nobody understands so that you can't hold them accountable for the decisions that they're making. You see, there's only 3 explanations for speaking in gibberish that no one can understand. Either 1, you don't know what you're talking about, 2, you don't want others to know, or 3, some combination of both. And I suspect that in Mr. Carney's case, it's the third option. Mr. Carney is sitting there with a group of global elites talking about things that they don't understand to obscure the fact that at the end of the day, what the real agenda is to rip off the working class people through excess complexity. That's right. By overly complicating simple things, they're able to rip off the very people who are paying the bills. Take housing, for example. We all agree that there are complex bureaucracies that add expense and block home building. And so what is Mr. Carney's solution to that? Add more complex bureaucracies, a new $13 billion home building agency, or natural resources. The complex bureaucracies block us from exploiting the extraordinary resources we have right beneath our feet. And what is Mr. Carney's solution to that? Add yet another office that is...
So basically, the agency and another office, bureaucracy in between, already all around the red tapes and the difficulties, the money wasting that we have already. So if you guys think you're going to buy homes with Carney sitting here for another 4 years, you're not buying nothing. You'll not even be able to eat or put on clothes. Forget about buying anything. If anybody wants to keep bringing back these people that do not care about speaking about what is the real concern for the majority of us, should not be elected. They should not be listened. They should not be even paid attention to. They should be actually, shamed. We should actually stand up to them and tell them they are wrong. We should make them feel horrible of what they're doing. You should let them know that you know. And I'm just here to do that. So let's go.
And what is Mr. Carney's solution to that? Add yet another office that is supposed to develop our resources. They cripple our businesses with high taxes and red tape, and then they say, well, because our businesses are so unproductive and starved for investment, we need, yes, you guessed it, another complex bureaucracy to invest in Canadian businesses. What does this mean? It means if you want to build homes, develop
it means you get screwed at the end of the day. It means you get nothing. It means there's more money coming out of us.
Resources or start a business. You can't do it without going through the government. And what does that do? It makes the politicians and bureaucrats more powerful. The more complicated they can make this all be, the more they can...
Your mommy and daddy checking on everything you're bringing in. If you're going to be possible to even do this, giving you the permission to do something, to have a business. It's very easy today to start a business. You go online, you have the forms, you fill it up. You have YouTube videos explaining all this stuff. Now we got all of these people that want to, actually, I should say our government that want to create jobs, which already is being free information already out there for anybody to go and do it yourself. Here we are.
Escape any accountability for the damage they are doing, the more they can enrich themselves by making everyone else poor. That's why we have to get back to simple, clear language that allows us to hold government to account. Let's speak in words that people get. Einstein said if you can't explain it simply, then it means you don't understand it. We need to get back to simple language to hold politicians accountable for the things they say and do, and to get them working for the common people. You see, it's not the common people aren't smart enough to understand the gibberish. It's that they're too smart for the gibberish. Common people speak real language. The people who know how to take apart and put back together an engine block are mechanics. The people who know how to build homes with their hands, the electricians, they're the smartest people around. They speak clear, precise English rather than convoluted bureaucraties. Imagine how much better our government would.
This is how Pierre speaks to the populations, his brothers and sisters, everybody in his country, the same country where he grew up. He's not going to speak to you like you're an idiot, ignorant, not understanding what's going on. You want to be clear and honest. Well, Carney chose to be dishonest and gibberishy. And here we had Mr. Pierre all of this time sitting here being honest and truthful. But some people were trying to make him look like he was not truthful. But those are the people that wants you distracted from the truth. The truth is the truth. Doesn't matter how many times somebody can say it's a lie, someone else says it's a lie. It still shines and stays and festers and comes back biting you. So yes, told everybody I'm an elite, hire me as your premier for this country. I know how to deal with money because I worked in a bank. I can take care of your money. Well, in the meantime, they were saying Pierre has been in politics for 20 years. He should not be premier. How stupid was that? But that's how they are gibberishy with us. They thought that we were stupid, but we saw the stupidity and we call the stupidity because some of us did not vote for Carney and some of us did vote for Carney. If I would have voted for Carney, I would have been mad because he did act under pretexts. He faked his way, but I guess I'm a little bit older. And I saw the lie, the fakery, the masquerade, and I did not like it. See, sometimes you don't even need words. You can see in someone's face when they're lying. Here we go. Let's finish this up.
If it did the same thing, we would get common sense decisions that delivered real results and accountability for failure. That's the kind of government that I want to lead. It's that simple.
And it's that simple. When there is a gap between one's real and one's declared aim, one turns into where instinctively so long words, two long words and exhausted iodines, like a cuttlefish spurting out ink. Well. There's ink all over the place. It's a chaos. But guess what? We will make it through. Canada will make it through. Let me just refresh this page. This is Pierre talking to the young ones about the future of their jobs, if I'm not mistaken. Hold on, let me share this screen with you. To share screen. Here we go. Let's go. Refresh.
This is one of the most efficient and advanced mills anywhere in the world. You have the skill set, the precision, and what I want you to know is that everything that you do is important. You put roofs over people's heads, literally. Without people like you, we wouldn't have a country. We're going to restore the faith and the promise of this country. We need to make this country work for the people who do the work, and that's the country we're going to restore. Our purpose is to restore the promise of Canada, where anybody who works hard gets a great life in a beautiful house with good food, on a safe street under our proud flag. That's our vision, that's our mission. Canada first, Canada always. Thank you for all you do.
Canada first. So sorry, it was about the forestry sector he did this video, but he did another one about the young workers that I wanted to cover up as well. Let's go back here. He's talking to the governments have screwed over young workers.
Everybody, I'm in Winnipeg with Ryan. He's a flag football ref, 17 years old, and his story is the story of an entire generation of teenagers who can't find work. Youth employment numbers in Canada today are the worst in 30 years. This is the story that we're hearing again and again. You've been applying for jobs at restaurants and where else?
dozens of jobs like at retail, fast food, dining restaurants, stuff like that, never getting a call back.
And why do you think it is that they're not hiring?
I don't know. It's just there's more candidates than job openings.
Yeah, and that really is unacceptable in a country with so much potential. There should be more jobs than people. There should be higher wages. Our young people should be able to save up for university, college, their apprenticeship, or God forbid, an eventual down payment on a house. But none of that is possible in the Carney economy. So let's just diagnose the problem here. You've got heavy red tape and high taxes that are killing jobs for small businesses. And then what jobs are available are often being given to temporary foreign workers and other people who've come to the country as part of mass immigration. Now, we want everyone to have a chance, and of course, we're a welcoming country, but we've brought in people in larger numbers than we have jobs for them.
It's very sad.
And in particularly, the temporary foreign worker program allows multinational corporations to give Ryan's job to low-wage labor from poor countries, and that profits those corporations, but it does so at the expense of our youth who need those jobs, not just for the money, but also for their resume and their experience. So do you agree that we should get rid of the temporary foreign worker program and then unlock the free enterprise system so we can create jobs for the next generation of teenagers?
Absolutely. We can't allow that corporate greed to collaborate with the government that way.
Yeah, it's government greed combined with crony corporatism. This is not the free market at work. This is big government helping big business screw over the working class youth of our nation. And my future government is going to reverse it. We're going to have free enterprise with low...
Look how Pierre is supporting the young ones already. This has been very sad. This young man is a very pretty well put together young man, well spoken, and he can't find a job. It is very sad, right? Foreign workers everywhere, but no job for citizens. For citizens, no jobs for citizens. This is ridiculous. And Pierre again is pointing out and shining the light where they have totally ignored and caused a chaos. Here we go.
Taxes, zero capital gains tax when you reinvest in Canada, opening a mine, a pipeline, a restaurant, a retailer, zero capital gains tax on that. But there's a catch. Our businesses are going to have to hire Canadians and Canadians first. No more temporary foreign workers. Our kids come first for our country. That's what we need for Ryan, for you, for us all. Way to go, buddy.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Handsome young man, I wish you all the best, and hopefully you can find a job pretty soon. But here, what is this? Hold on. Escape. Carney's secret bonus paid worth millions. Oh, let's get on this one. This came out 2 weeks ago. Okay, guys, while we're not eating, while our groceries getting harder and harder to buy and being unhealthy and being unsustainable, let's be honest. Can we say that word? Unsustainable for our human bodies. Well, Carney's bonus pay just kicked in. Let's get in here. And it's being questioned during a committee hearing. All right, let's go. Let me share that screen. Committee hearing for sure. Mr. Cooper is the one on it. He's always on it. Cooper, we appreciate you, sir. A great job. Keep on doing what you're doing. Sincerely, sir. You, Mr. Brock, and all of the other members, do what you got to do, because these committee hearings are actually one of the most resourceful hearings where we can get information. Okay, so they're reviewing of Conflict of Interest Act here with Carney's a bonus guy. Let's go. There has been questions. If there weren't any questions, there would not be a hearing. Okay, let's go.
Mr. Conacher, Mr. Carney's ethics disclosure states that he is entitled to carried interest payments, aka future bonus pay, in respect of the performance of Brookfield's global transition funds, in which he co-led efforts to raise billions of dollars of capital for. But what is missing from Mr. Carney's disclosure are the holdings in this fund, of the companies that this fund is invested in. Would you agree that this is a significant and material omission from the standpoint of knowing the extent of Mr. Carney's conflicts of interest?
Basically, he's asking if that should have been disclosed because they've omitted it. Let's go.
Yes, and unfortunately, though, the disclosure rules allow for secret investments, essentially. The details are not provided.
It's a material omission, would you agree? Because Mr. Carney handpicked the holdings in the companies that the fund...
He said he's allowed for us to secret stashes. Let's go back here.
Mr. Carney's conflicts of interest.
Yes, and unfortunately, though, the disclosure rules allow for secret investments, essentially. The details are not provided.
For secret investments.
Material omission, would you agree? Because Mr. Carney handpicked the holdings in the companies that the fund is invested in, and therefore the companies his future performance pay worth potentially tens of millions of dollars is tied to, correct?
Yes, so when you have these kind of general funds, which again, it's legal to invest in some of them and keep it secret, some types of mutual funds, the details of what you're actually invested in is known to you, but not disclosed to the public.
So Mr. Carney therefore knows which public policy decisions will impact these holdings, which in turn impacts the future performance of the fund, which in turn affects the value of his future bonus pay. Meanwhile, Canadians are left in the dark. So Mr. Carney, as it pertains to his future bonus pay, is hiding his conflicts of interest from Canadians, isn't he?
Yes, again, that's legal to do, and what's even worse, because of another, the biggest loophole in the Act, he is allowed to participate in decisions 99% of the time that affect his investments, because the definition of private interest in the Act says that you are not in a conflict, and the Act does not apply when you are dealing with a matter that applies generally, and 99% of decisions that Prime Minister and Cabinet Ministers and top government officials make apply generally. And so the Act only applies 1% of the time to very specific.
So basically, they're reviewing of the Conflict of Interest Act itself because of these loopholes, these basically Carney's portfolio and his role as a Prime Minister of Canada, knowing the investments and where monies are going and picking and choosing is a conflict. And I'm assuming this is what it's all about. And this is the the man here, they're asking about these questions.
Specific decisions. And as a result, it's almost impossible to be in a conflict of interest under this Act.
And I agree with you on that point. But to be clear, just with respect to disclosure, there's nothing that prevents Mr. Carney from disclosing the companies and the holdings of these funds, is there? If he wanted to be transparent, he could simply disclose that information to Canadians?
Of course, you can always go beyond what's required in terms of disclosure and also compliance.
But Mr. Carney, of course, hasn't been transparent. Now, the Global Transition Funds is listed in Mr. Carney's so-called ethics screen, but given that the holdings and the companies that the fund is invested in and in which Mr. Carney's future performance pay is tied to have not been disclosed by Mr. Carney, how possibly can the ethics screen function to screen out Mr. Carney from making decisions where he has conflicts of interest?
Well, the ethics screen never works because, again, of this huge loophole. So ethics screens are a smoke screen that actually violate the law because the act requires disclosure whenever
It actually violates the law because it requires disclosure, and the disclosure is not being forced.
you
Legally.
recuse yourself, step aside from participating in a decision, discussion, or vote. And the ethics screen allow you to not do that. So you're violating the law. And what's hidden is that, in fact, you're participating 99% of the time in decisions that affect your investments because of this huge loophole, again, that you do not have to step aside when you're dealing with a matter that applies generally. And again, 99% of decisions apply generally. So the screens are a smoke screen that hide conflicts of interest. They do not stop them or prevent them in any way.
And do you have concerns with the fact that this screen is basically set up on the basis of just trust the Prime Minister's Chief of Staff and the Clerk of the Privy Council? Just trust them, even though they answer to the Prime Minister, but they serve at the pleasure of the Prime Minister?
Yes, very much so. Anyone who's serving at your pleasure is not independent. And I was very disappointed to hear Ethics Commissioner Conrad von Finken.
Everybody who serves, wow, did you, let me just go back.
Pleasure is not independent.
Prime Minister?
Yes, very much so. Anyone who's serving at your pleasure is not independent.
pleasure is
And
not
I was very
independent.
disappointed to hear Ethics Commissioner Conrad von Finkenstein claim that they share the same interest as the Prime Minister in terms of keeping him away from conflicts of interest. Actually, the interest they share with the Prime Minister is covering up conflicts of interest. And these ethics screens, again, were created by the Ethics Commissioner. It's a loophole that's not in the Act. It's created by the Commissioner. And tomorrow, Conrad von Finkenstein could require full transparency under that ethics screen of every single time that Mr. Carney is actually stepping aside from a decision. And he could just impose that as part of the conditions of the screen. It's really his screen. He sets the terms of it. And what it would show, if there was transparency, is that 99% of the time, Mr. Carney is participating in decisions that affect his financial interests because the law allows for that, as the Ethics Commissioner acknowledged when he was testifying.
Now, Mr. Carney has said, well, you know, there's nothing to see here. Everything is on the up and up because I've put my assets into a blind trust. But when we look, for example, at the funds in which he has future bonus pay awaiting for him, what good is a blind trust when the Prime Minister is hardly blind to policy decisions that will impact
To
upon his
oversee
future bonus?
everything.
Very quick response.
Yeah, blind trusts are not blind at all.
Thank you.
You choose the trustee. You also can give them initial instructions. They can give you regular updates, and you know what you put in the blind trust. But even further, for Prime Minister Carney, the holdings are actually outside the blind trust. All the Brookfield conglomerate, the 103 companies, he knows that he owns them. He knows that he owns stock options in Brookfield
Mr.
until
Vaughn.
2033. So he knows he's in a financial conflict of interest, and there's
you.
nothing preventing or prohibiting or penalizing it.
Okay, thank you.
Wow. Thank you. Like he said, a thank you. Really? This is our conflict of interest all over again, just like Trudeau. And it's coming to haunt him too, right? Yeah. So was this today? I believe this was today. No, this was 2 years ago. All right. Let's go to the committee hearing that I was interested on. Committee hearing, here we go. Almost there. Alrighty. So let's share. Here, share screen. Questions orales. Oral questions. Alrighty, let's go here.
In 10 budgets, the Liberal...
Oral questions, questions orales, the Honorable Leader of the Opposition.
In 10 budgets, the Liberals doubled debt, doubled lines at food banks, and doubled the cost of housing. Every dollar that the government spends comes out of Canadians' pockets. And fridges are empty, Mr. Speaker.
Empty.
Has the government learned the costly lessons that its deficits and taxes increase the cost of living? And will they reverse these inflationist policies in their budget? The Honourable Government House Leader, Mr. Speaker, we'll be talking about those issues quite a bit in the coming weeks, but last week, the Leader of the Opposition questioned the independence of our legal system, of the police, and the integrity of police officers, the police officers who put their lives on the line to protect us. Today, he has the opportunity to make amends in an honorable way before this House. In the next 30 seconds, the Leader of the Opposition has the opportunity to make amends. Will he do that?
So he's asking him to make amends about the RCMP not being, or I should say, not being independent from our government while Trudeau was in office, for not following through with their investigation and their jobs. But obviously, we've heard it before. There's an interest for the RCMP. It's the government. They're working all together. That's their boss. So of course, they were not going to throw him under the bus. And there was a ethics breach, but they were not allowed to investigate. Why? Because Trudeau didn't want them to have the reports.
Mr. Speaker, the Liberals are trying to distract Canadians from their inflation with their corruption, Mr. Speaker. They now have 4 inflationist taxes on food. The industrial carbon tax, which applies to equipment on farms. The packaging tax at grocery stores. The diesel standards tax and their inflationist taxes. Canadians can no longer pay their bills. They can't afford their groceries. Will the Liberals reverse these inflationist policies so Canadians can eat?
Looks like Pierre brought him back to the subject at hand about the inflation, the grocery bills, the farmers' hardship. But these guys are stuck on the RCMP from 6 years ago, not doing their job, knowing for a fact they weren't doing their job.
The Honourable Government House Leader.
A lot of opportunity to talk about the taxes, the imaginary taxes that the Leader of the Opposition...
Now he wants to call it imaginary taxes. How disrespectful is that? We are hungry, sir, Mr. Steve McKinnon. We are starved here. Winter is coming. And you with your glowy little face and your smirk right there, you want to say what? It's imaginary inflation? You look like an imaginary puppet, sir. Look at him.
The Honourable Government House Leader.
A lot of opportunity to talk about the taxes, the imaginary taxes that the Leader of the Opposition comes up with. But last week, the Leader of the Opposition put in...
Rude and insulting. You're speaking to the chair. You're speaking to all of us. Sir, remember that.
question the independence of our judiciary, of the independence of our prosecutors, of the police.
None of us can eat that to keep us warm at home. None of us can eat that to keep us going. None of us can eat the RCMP or your bureaucracy that you're so eager to protect while we are getting starved up in here in Canada. This society that can afford to take people's money so we can have free health care, that we all chip in together, we won't be able to do this anymore. Could you stop it? Could you stop it? We want to worry about dentists and add that one in there and our eyesights. And you want to what? Laugh like it's imaginary? You want to bring us more bullshit so you can spend our money for no reason? Pierre, please put a stop to this. Please do.
In fact, the very police
Stop him.
that put their lives on the line to protect him, Mr. Speaker. The leader has the next 30 seconds to make amends, to apologize, to tell the people of this chamber and this house that he is sorry for what he said. We don't do that in Canada, Mr. Speaker.
You got 30 seconds to sit down.
And rising cost of living by talking about their corruption. This will be the 10th Liberal budget. Already, they've doubled the debt, food bank lineups, and housing costs. Every dollar the government spends comes directly out of the pockets of Canadians who can no longer afford to eat, heat, and house themselves. Their fridges are empty, Mr. Speaker.
Why do I love this man so much? I think people just need to open their heart and their mind and let it flood it by Pierre. Look at him worry about our food, our plates, our heater, the oil, the gas, the electricity bill, the water bill that we gotta pay to live in this cold country, which is pretty cold for about 8 months out of the year. This in Florida, you clown, Stephen. Thank you, Pierre, for keep reminding us what is the most important thing. Not their scandal with the RCMP. They're trying to make you look like you are some crazy man who's coming out of nowhere with this old story of 6 years. We know. We all love Northern Perspective, and we watch that. And that's why I'm here. And then back you, and to back them, to back all Canadians from this crazy Stephen clown. All right? So please, go ahead, Pierre. Go all crazy on him. Go give it to him. Because obviously, this is what he understands. Your style of crazy, which is pretty much common sense. No shouting, no yelling, no fist fighting, no kicking and stomping. By standing there on his 2 feet, grounded, straight looking at the chair, and totally oblivious to their charades. So stop shining the lights on yourself, guys, about the Trudeau era. It's still coming to bite you, and it will come to bite you every day. So don't linger on too much.
Speaker, will they learn these costly lessons? Will they cap their inflationary deficits and get rid of their insane taxes on groceries?
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Monsieur le Président,
Mr. Speaker, the Leader of the Opposition is inventing scenarios to distract from the
Again,
the Leader of the Opposition has had 2
this man is very rude.
to apologize to the RCMP, our judges, and our legal
You need to
system.
apologize to all of us, actual citizens and legal citizens, and to everybody. You should be even apologize to the illegal people for bullshits, lying to these people, making them come here without any proper residencies. These people sometimes, I don't know, it seems like they're having some hard time to say the truth. They would rather lie, close their eyes, and be pompous. Look at them. They're all unhappy and miserable and caught in their charades. Look how raggedy she starts to look like. And him too, he's so embarrassed. He's sitting there quiet. They'll move him soon.
He has refused to do that. In terms of inflationist spending, so-called inflationist spending from the opposition leader, well, he still hasn't suggested one single way to cut or identified what spending, what support for which Canadian.
Incorrect, sir. They already told you. Stop your spending. Cut down the bureaucracy. Stop creating imaginary jobs that are freaking how would you say that? Unnecessary waste of money. You guys shut it down. Clean up your house.
He thinks is inflationary, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition. Speaker, tragically, 3,000 auto workers in Brampton learned that the Prime Minister had sold them out and failed them in negotiations with the United States of America. To make matters worse, this Liberal government and this Liberal fight.
Yeah, because that's all we know how to do is just throw money. We don't even know how to finalize a proper contract between companies and government. It's a farce. It's a farce. How do you just throw money without any guarantees for a new model? What are you talking about? A new model? Is that what you wanted out of a battery plant? That's ridiculous.
Finance Minister forked over $15 billion tax dollars to the company that is moving their jobs south. So surely the government would have negotiated a jobs guarantee for every single Canadian Stellantis employee. Will they release that guarantee and the entire contract so Canadians know where their dollars went?
Oh no, that's going to be hidden, blacked out again.
Mr. Speaker, of course, what Stellantis announced for the Brampton plant.
Here's Mrs. Najoli. We got Mrs. Najoli standing up as a ministry of nothing. Should I say industry? Oh yeah, our industry is gone. Okay, it's gone, guys. And this is the one that they put on top of it to make sure it's gone and it disappears. So look at her. I have no faith in her. I have no trust in her. She's been part of Trudeau's office all this time. All she did was sit there and look pretty. And you know what? We saw all the ugliness coming out. There we go.
Last week was completely unacceptable. And Stellantis has made solemn commitments to this government and to their workers, and they need to honor their commitments. And that's why we will hold them to account. While my colleagues are just right now talking, we already know that in committee we said that we would agree to the production of documents. Thank you.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, surely Stellantis would not be announcing that it is moving a 3,000 worker plant to the United States of America
If
this government had negotiated job guarantees in that contract, $15 billion.
Thank you. And that is the obvious part that they obviously do not understand because they are not business people. There were politicians for life, and I would say even bad politicians for life. At least Pierre learned something while he was in office. We can see the accomplishment of where he is today. But what did the other ones just do? Kiss each other's bum. And now look, they're still trying to kiss each other's bum, finish it all off.
Into perspective, $15 billion is $1,000 for every single family in Canada that was supposed to create jobs. So simple yes or no question. Is there an ironclad guarantee of every single worker's job here in Canada in exchange for that $15 billion handout?
The Honourable Minister.
It's a big amount, $15 billion.
Mr. Speaker, let me be extremely clear. We will fight for these jobs because Canadian auto workers are the best auto workers in the world. And we will make sure that Stellantis face all consequences ones. That being said, an hour ago, I met here in Ottawa with the head of Canadian Stellantis, with the head of Unifor, and also with the Minister of Economic Development of Ontario. We're one strong team, Canada, and we will make sure that these jobs stay in Brampton.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
We wouldn't be here if the contract meant anything to that company. And we wouldn't be here, and those employees would not be laid off and shuffled around.
Mr. Speaker, still no answer. It was the finance minister, the present-day finance minister, who is in charge of a $500 billion forthcoming Liberal budget that was the one who signed this deal. And
She did.
Barely 2 years after he signed it and forked over 15 billion Canadian tax dollars, the company receiving it is moving the jobs to the United States of America. That minister claims she might take legal action. She can't do that unless there's actually a job guarantee. So will she tell us, yes or no, does every Canadian Stellantis worker have a job guarantee?
No.
The Honourable Minister of Industry.
Otherwise, she won't be taking any legal actions.
Negotiate contracts are good ones. And so my colleague will have the chance to see these contracts. That being said, we will make sure to put full pressure on the company. These jobs need to stay in Brampton. These jobs need to stay in Canada. And ultimately, the future of the auto sector is bright, and we'll continue to fight for it.
Bravo. The Honourable Member.
Why is she yelling at him? Should be yelling at Stellantis.
Mr. Speaker, the preacher
Or at Trudeau.
is giving
Or should she
speaking conferences
at
across
herself?
Canada despite his history of hate speech. For example, he believes it's acceptable to capture women and turn them into sex slaves. This type of rhetoric has earned him a ban from the United Kingdom and even from Canada, but he'll have no problem repeating these remarks in his video conferences because they're protected by
Let's
the criminal
see.
code. In fact, the criminal code exempts hate speech from consequences if it's made in a religious context. Will the government finally abolish this religious exemption? The Honourable Minister of Canadian Culture. I'd like to thank my colleague for her question. As she knows very well, hate speech has no place in Canada. The federal government has a number of tools to fight hate speech, and we will do everything that we can to work to ensure that Canadians are free from this kind of speech. The Honourable Member for Saint-Jean. Mr. Speaker, UQAM quickly banned a conference by the preacher on its premises, and we must applaud that decision. But fans of hate speech, misogyny, homophobia, and more will still be able to attend 7 of his conferences across Canada and even in Quebec in Brossard. This rhetoric has no place in Quebec or in Canada, yet the federal government protects it under the criminal code. When will the Liberals finally have the political courage to abolish the religious exemption that allows hate speech? The Honourable Minister. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As my colleague has noted, there is a conference that was cancelled because it was hate speech. We have a number of tools, and we've tabled a bill in the previous Parliament to fight online hate speech. I will work on this issue as Minister of Heritage, and we will continue to work to fight hate speech in all its forms across the country. The Honourable Member for Rivière-du-Nord. Mr. Speaker, the federal government is speaking out of both sides of its mouth when it comes to hate speech. Canada has banned Uthman Ibn Farouk because of his hateful comments. It's true, he's too dangerous to be allowed into the country. We agree. But these same hateful comments are protected under 319 of the Criminal Code. It's allowed in Canada to engage in hate speech if it's done under the guise of religion. Mr. Speaker, if religious speeches are hateful enough for Canada to ban him from entering the country, does the government not agree that they're hateful enough to be prohibited under the Criminal Code? The Honourable Minister. Mr. Speaker, beyond the bill that we tabled in the previous Parliament on hate speech online, in Bill C9, which is before the House right now, Mr. Speaker, which is going to be debated in the coming weeks, there is an element that is specifically focused on hate speech. The federal government is very proactive on this question, and we will continue to be.
The Honourable Member for Foothills.
Prime Minister's broken promises are costing Canadians. The Prime Minister said he would lower grocery costs for Canadians, but in fact, food prices are rising twice as quickly now as they did under Trudeau. And it's because of the Liberal hidden taxes on food. And it's not imaginary. The Liberal government's own analysis said their food packaging tax
It hit the tax in there.
on Canadians by $1 billion. A Deloitte study said it would increase fresh produce costs 34%. Will the Prime Minister scrap his hidden taxes on food, or will he break another promise to Canadians?
The Honourable Minister of Jobs and Families.
Good news for Canadians, Mr. Speaker. Last week, the Prime Minister announced that we're making the school food program permanent. So I take from the question of the member opposite. That means, Mr. Speaker, Speaker, that Canadian kids all across the country are getting good quality food at school, saving families about $800 a year at the grocery store. But I hope from the nature of that question, Mr. Speaker, we can count
Oh
on
boy, $800.
The honourable member for Foothills.
No kids eat.
Liberals who voted against scrapping their hidden taxes on food. And now we have 1 in 4 Canadians not knowing where their next meal is coming from. Bans on plastic food packaging, front of pack labeling. Those will increase the cost of fresh produce 34%. The Liberals were warned. These policies would increase costs on consumers. And those warnings were heeded. There is 4 million Canadians going to be forced to use a food bank this year, up 345% from 2015. Will the Prime Minister scrap his hidden taxes on food so Canadians can afford to feed their families?
The honourable Minister of Jobs and Families.
He's not here, but the minions are here.
Canadians know or ought to know that there is a tax on food, and in fact, these are imaginary taxes. You know what's not imaginary, Mr. Speaker? The $8,000 in the Canadian family's bank account for a child under 6 that will be deposited today. Something that those Conservatives have voted against time and time again. When they have an opportunity, Mr. Speaker, to make life more affordable for Canadians, they vote against the interests of Canadian families time after time.
Honourable member for Cambridge.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister told Canadians to judge them by the prices they pay at the grocery store. So let's do just that. Sherry, a senior in Cambridge, wrote to me this week. She sent a photo of her grocery receipt. $197 for a few basics that won't last the week. The cause? Hidden Liberal taxes like the industrial carbon tax on farmers who grow the food. These taxes are buried in everyday essentials. Runaway Liberal spending has turned the grocery aisle into a luxury lane.
Sneaky tax, and they're in a plastic.
Will the government axe the hidden taxes and rein in the spending so they can afford to eat?
Sneaky Carney. That's why he speaks gibberish, guys. Doesn't want nobody to understand the gibberish because everything is hidden somewhere else. You don't know. It's gibberish.
Families, these Conservatives vote against their interests. Whether it's increases to seniors' benefits, Mr. Speaker, voted against it. Whether it's ensuring that food costs remain low for Canadians, voted against it. Mr. Speaker, Canadians expect governments to work on their behalf, and they know they can't trust these Conservatives.
The honourable member for Cambridge.
Mr. Speaker, same old answers. Let's talk about those so-called programs. 9 out of 10 kids do not get fed by this failed food program. The Liberals take food away from families to instead feed the government's constantly expanding bureaucracy. If those programs were working, then food bank visits would be going down, not up. Since this Prime Minister took office, beef sirloin is up 28%, sugar is up 19%, apples are up 13%. These aren't luxuries, they're everyday essentials being priced out of Canadian diets, forcing kids to go to bed hungry. So I'll ask again, will the government finally listen to the evidence and stop their reckless spending so families...
The honourable Minister.
You know what, Mr. Speaker, when you visit food banks, one of the things they ask is to make the school food program permanent. And we listen, Mr. Speaker. That's what responsible governments do. We work with partners to make sure that we have programs across the country that reach hungry bellies. And that's what we're doing, saving Canadian families on average $800 a year. But these Conservatives vote against families time and time again. Mr. Speaker, they literally take food out of kids' mouths.
The honourable member for Kitchener Centre.
Mr. Speaker, Canadians are feeling the financial squeeze not just at the pumps but across the board. While the Liberals claim that these are imaginary taxes, the truth is they're hidden fuel taxes on buried regulatory fees and carbon pricing.
There you go.
The cost of groceries and transportation. These aren't just line items. They're daily realities for working families in Kitchener Centre. Will they
We're paying for the plastic wrap even more, guys.
so Canadians can finally afford to live?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Seniors.
While the Conservatives continue to suggest these imaginary taxes exist on food, we are ensuring that there is real food for real bellies. Children in schools get fed. They vote against feeding children.
I don't know, but I'm here as a grown-up and I'm hungry too. Like, what is she talking about? You guys are not feeding nobody.
Here, we're ensuring that children have the food that they need, that Canadians have the support that they need, while they continue to suggest imaginary taxes and work against Canadians' interests.
The honourable member for Bellechasse, Lévis. The Prime Minister said he should be judged on grocery prices, and it's clear that his taxes, like the packaging tax, are driving prices up. And it's hidden from you, Mr. Speaker. These taxes are so sneaky that they're built right into the prices you see. They don't even show up on your receipt. But what we've now learned, Mr. Speaker, is that the packaging tax will cost Canadians $1.3 billion by 2032. Can the Prime Minister put an end to these hidden taxes on food so that Quebecers and Canadians can afford to eat properly?
Merci, madame.
The Honourable Secretary of State for Children and Youth.
Merci, monsieur.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The opposition is talking about imaginary taxes. What we're doing on this side of the House is we are delivering for Canadian families.
Oh my God, you guys are living in another world.
Program for for kids across Canada, and our government will continue to be there to help families and children. Thank
See,
you.
that's how they do. Everything is imaginary. I don't know if you guys are hungry and they're telling you it's imaginary. You know what? It's imaginary at this point, okay? Don't ignore it. Make some imaginary food at this point, guys. Look at pictures, imagine them, and eat.
The Honourable Member for Bellechasse, Lisa Tremaine-Lévy. You know, we're not living in the same world, Mr. Speaker. There will be over 4 million visits to food banks this year. That's a 128% increase under the Liberals. Here in Quebec, the organization Les Frigos Pleins has provided more than 1,600 emergency food deliveries in just 4 months. That's almost half the total for all of last year. The industrial carbon tax, the food packaging tax, clean fuel regulations. These are all measures that increase the cost of transporting, producing, and marketing food, Mr. Speaker. The Prime Minister said he should be judged on grocery prices. Does he realize, Mr. Speaker, that the judgment is in and it's not in his favor?
Thank you, madam.
The Honourable Secretary of State.
Ooh,
Thank
yes.
you, Mr. Speaker.
Did you guys see this guy?
The Honourable Secretary of State.
Yeah, they're embarrassed now.
The Canadian Federation of Teachers
Smiling
said that
from
it's
embarrassment.
fantastic news concerning our school food program. That program
Nobody
is
cares
now
about the
permanent,
programs
and
that
they thank the
nobody
government for
cares
making a
about.
priority. We are
There's
there for
no
families,
food
for
in your
children, to help
programs.
with the cost of living. This program is putting over $800 in parents' pockets by helping them with food. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Honourable Member for Mirabel. Mr. Speaker, the Bloc Québécois has made 6 demands for the upcoming budget, which can be summarized as follows. Quebec must be given the means to take care of Quebecers. There has to be an increase in health transfers without conditions. Given the cost of living, we need an increase in old age pensions for people aged 65 to 74. We also need to reimburse Quebecers for the $814 million the federal government stole from us to give Canadians election bribes in the form of fake carbon rebates. Those are our conditions. Will the government respond to the needs of Quebecers? The Honourable Government
Wow.
Mr. Speaker, you'll allow us to be a little bit perplexed on this side of the House. First of all, the leader of the Bloc
This guy's
Québécois
perplexed.
said that it was unimaginable that they could
Thought it
support
was
the budget.
imaginary.
And now the Bloc has come up with a series of non-negotiable demands. So maybe there's some openness on that side to support the budget. I think, Mr. Speaker, that the Bloc Québécois should read the budget and then make a decision. The Honourable Member for Mirabel. Mr. Speaker, this budget must also allow us to meet the great challenges of our time, and that includes housing, which requires a permanent transfer to Quebec without conditions for the construction of social and community housing. There's also access to home ownership, which requires loans for first-time home buyers to cover the down payment. There's also infrastructure, which requires a new unconditional transfer to Quebec. These budget requests are unavoidable because the challenges are unavoidable, Mr. Speaker. Can we count on the government on November 4th? The Honourable Government House Leader. Well, Mr. Speaker, as a member for Gatineau, I can assure you that Quebecers are already counting on the support of this government when it comes to housing. We have very strong agreements with all of Quebec. We have put in place a new program which allows young people to ensure that they have the funds they need to buy a new home. We've acted across the line. We didn't need the Bloc Québécois to ask for that because we have 42 strong MPs from Quebec, and we know what Quebecers want and need in the budget, Mr. Speaker.
Do you? I thought it was imaginary.
Every dollar the Prime Minister spends comes out of the pockets of hard-working Canadians. His Finance Minister was Industry Minister for the same Trudeau government that doubled the debt and promised that it would lead to more investment. The result? The worst per capita GDP growth in the G7 and more than a 10% drop in investment. Now the Prime Minister is set to double the Trudeau-era deficits. Will the Prime Minister keep his promise and keep the deficit under $42 billion? Well done!
The Honourable Secretary of State for Finance.
Sorry, to pass the $42 billion.
Members opposite have been, but over the last week, we've announced a series of affordability measures: automatic tax filing, school food program. We've got taxes for 22 million Canadians. We've got the GST for first-time home buyers. Interest rates are down. Mr. Speaker, we were elected on this side to build the strongest economy, most resilient economy in the G7, and that's exactly what we're going to do. Thank you.
The Honourable Member for Northumberland, Clark.
Mr. Speaker, if more government spending was the solution, then Canada would have the most prosperous economy in the G7. The result, we have the slowest in the G7.
Slowest, guys.
They can call it the government spending, government investment.
We're the best at being the slowest.
It comes out of the pockets of hard-working Canadians. Once again, will the Prime Minister keep his promise and keep the deficit under $42 billion?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Financial Institutions.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, on November 4th, we are going to table the most transformational budget in our country's history. We're going to spend less. We're going to invest more in nation-building projects, in infrastructure, in homes. Mr. Speaker,
Where are we going to spend less but invest more? This is what this guy said. Thank you, sir. The tie is too small and the neck is too small. Whatever.
on this side to versus a leader who's never worked in the economy. Mr. Speaker, we were elected to deliver for Canadians. That's exactly what we're going to do. Thank you.
The honourable member for Cloverdale Langley City.
Mr. Speaker, Canadians were told that borrowing billions would make their lives better. But 10 years later, the only thing growing faster than the debt is the cost of living. This year alone, they have to refinance $473 billion in debt, and that will only get harder if this government keeps spending like the bill will never come due. You can't spend your way out of inflation. So will the Prime Minister keep his word and hold the deficit under $42 billion in the next budget?
You got to add the plus 12 already.
The Conservatives keep talking about cuts that they want to make to programs that Canadians rely on. They keep expecting us to make decisions that would take food out of children's mouths, Mr. Speaker, that would ensure that seniors have no old age security. We know that on their record that they vote against increases to seniors' benefits. We know that they have a record of pushing the retirement age higher and cutting benefits and leaving seniors behind. This is what they want us to do on the side of the House. We won't do that, Mr. Speaker. We will stand up for Canadians.
The honourable member for Cloverdale Langley City.
When a family can't balance its books, they lose the trust of the bank. When a government can't, it loses the trust of investors. And that's dangerous when we have to refinance $473 billion this year alone. If Canada looks reckless, borrowing will only get more expensive and every Canadian will pay the price. Canada needs a budget that shows fiscal
And we are already.
Our current finance minister is the same guy who helped Trudeau double our debt as the industry minister. Will this Prime Minister show some fiscal discipline and commit to not exceed his $42 billion promise in the upcoming budget?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Seniors.
We are investing in Canadians. We're investing in a future that ensures that Canada is the top of the G7 countries fiscally, whereas the Conservatives want us to achieve economic goals that will ensure that children don't have food in their bellies when they're at school. They want us to achieve the economic goals that they're looking for on the backs of Canadians. These are real programs, Mr. Speaker, not like the imaginary taxes that they keep referring to. These are things that Canadians really rely on and will ensure that all of us have what we need to position ourselves.
Another one with her imaginary taxes. It's how they distract you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I've been a CPA for 26 years, and I've worked with Canadians as they navigate their personal taxes and finances under fiscal mismanagement of this Liberal government. Budgets do not balance themselves, as the Prime Minister knows well with his background. So there is no excuse to continue the fiscal disaster he inherited from his predecessor. My question is simple. Will the Prime Minister keep his promise and ensure the deficits will not exceed the outrageous $42 billion deficit of Justin Trudeau?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Finance. Excuse me.
This government.
I didn't hear the mic didn't seem to be on. Could the member start from the top?
Bring it up, big guy. Canadians know that this government was elected with a strong mandate to build the strongest economy in the G7. And I know that we're on the right track. You know how I know it? Because the experts say so. I know the opposition members may not agree, but who said Canada is fiscally sustainable? Former Parliamentary Budget Officer Kevin Page. Who said Canada is attracting the attention of global investors around the world? The CEO of our largest pension plan. Who said diversifying trade and investing in infrastructure will boost productivity? The Bank of Canada Governor, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for
That's why you keep reducing the freaking rates and maintaining it.
Which is before the House today, reflect our government's commitment to protecting Canadians. By expanding border security resources, fighting transnational organized crime, stopping the flow of illegal fentanyl, and cracking down on illicit financing at the border, while supporting our frontline officers and reinforcing the integrity of our immigration system. Could the Minister of Public Safety tell Canadians how this critical legislation enhances our ability to protect them and keep our communities safe? Thank you.
The Honourable Minister of Public Safety.
Mr. Speaker, let me thank the member for Oakville West for the very important question. I also want to thank her for the hard work that she does with Halton Regional Police. I had the opportunity to visit her last week, Mr. Speaker. From January 1st to September 19th, CPSA seized close to 2,600 grams of fentanyl, 770,000 grams of other opioids, 662 firearms, and over 11,000 prohibited weapons, Mr. Speaker. Bill C-12 will enhance law enforcement's ability to do their work, as will the additional 1,000 CBSA and RCMP officers we'll be hiring to keep Canadians.
The honourable member for Kildonan and St. Paul.
Speaker, the Liberals signed a $15 billion deal to subsidize Stellantis to produce electric vehicle batteries in Canada, promising it would secure Canadian jobs. But now planned production for Brampton is relocating to the U.S. and 3,000 jobs are at risk here in Canada. At the same time, Stellantis has announced $13 billion of investment in the U.S. that will create tens of thousands of American jobs. So under Liberals, taxpayers are subsidizing a company that's moving billions of investment and jobs out of Canada. How could the Liberals make one of the biggest corporate subsidies in Canadian history without a Canada-wide jobs guarantee?
Yeah.
Honourable Minister of Industry.
Decision by Stellantis to move its production from the Brampton plant is completely unacceptable, and that is why this morning we were with the Conservative government of Ontario, with Unifor, with Stellantis, to make sure that we would be one strong team Canada, because we need to make sure that the 3,000 jobs in Brampton are back. So I hope that I can work with my colleague, with all the MPs in this place, because we need to be Canada strong on this. Thank you.
The honourable member for Kildonan St. Paul.
The fact is, Canadians are paying $15 billion for EV battery production. It's a 100% subsidy for those batteries, Mr. Speaker, but there's no public evidence the Liberals have secured job guarantees for the broader Stellantis footprint here in Canada. There are thousands of auto sector jobs on the line here, Mr. Speaker. Canadians deserve to know, in exchange for $15 billion of their tax dollars, did the Liberals secure a guarantee to protect every single Stellantis job in Canada? Yes or no? Yeah!
The Honourable Minister of Industry.
Mr. Speaker, I know my colleague is very interested in this issue, which is normal, and of course, this is my #1 priority right now, but she already knows the answer. The documents will be presented and produced before the committee, and of course, she'll have access to the information. Right. My goal is to make sure that we work together, because we need to fight as one Canada strong on this issue.
The Honourable Member for Kildonan St. Paul.
She's always on the one Canada strong. Divided. Divided Canada.
How many Canada-wide jobs did the Liberals guarantee for $15 billion that they gave Stellantis? How many jobs? Can she tell us?
Honourable Minister of Industry.
Mr. Speaker, let me be extremely clear. The auto sector in Canada is victim of unjustifiable and unjustified 25% tariff by the American administration, period. Meanwhile, the auto workers are trying every day to make sure that they develop the best product on the face of the earth. And that's what we'll continue to help them to do while we're facing trade tensions with the American government. Meanwhile, Mr. Speaker, we will work with Doug Ford's administration, with Unifor, as one Canadian team, because we need to do it for the sake of our country and the sake of our workers.
The Honourable Member for Windsor-Tecumseh.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. After Stellantis was handed $15 billion for an EV battery plant in Windsor, they have now sent 3,000 jobs from Brampton to the United States. In my community, workers are now worried about their own jobs. How are they going to pay their mortgages? How are they going to feed their family? Canadians deserve transparency about these multi-billion-dollar contracts they paid so much for. Can the Liberals even confirm that their contract included a Canada-wide jobs guarantee for workers? Or will they continue to cover up for their incompetence?
Whoa. Adorable little lady.
Mr. Speaker, the decision by Stellantis is not only completely unacceptable, but we'll make sure to hold them to account. And that's why we'll make sure that we use all the full force of the law should the company doesn't bring the production back to Brampton. Meanwhile, the documents will be produced before committee. My colleagues will have access to it. And we'll make sure also, obviously, that all forms of support for Stellantis is being checked into, because obviously we need the workers to be back in Brampton. Thank you.
Honourable Member for Ottawa.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister failed to negotiate a win with President Trump, and Canadian auto jobs are on the line. Stellantis was handed $15 billion, and they've now announced they're moving 3,000 jobs to the United States. The current finance minister negotiated these deals and bragged about it, and now these auto jobs have left Canada for the U.S., and he refuses to be transparent. Liberals are hiding from the Canadian auto workers they sold out.
Failure.
Simple. Is there a Canada-wide jobs guarantee, yes
Or no. And that's why Carney's not here, so he avoided the question period today.
no?
The Honourable Minister responsible for Canada-U.S. trade.
Mr. Speaker, just because our colleague asserts with great indignation a series of conspiracy theories does not make them true. Mr. Speaker, what is true is our government is standing up for Canadian workers and Canadian businesses. The Prime Minister met with President Trump in Washington 2 weeks ago. We have engaged in a series of conversations and negotiations precisely to get a deal that's in the interest of all Canadian workers, including auto workers and other sectors of the economy in every region of the country. Mr. Speaker, that's the work that we're doing.
Getting too red. Oof. Breathe, sir.
And the result of that meeting of the Prime Minister and President Trump was the export of 3,000 auto workers' jobs from Canada into Trump's America. Talk about failure. Meanwhile, this finance minister signed a $15 billion deal for jobs with Stellantis in Canada. It was supposed to include money to retool those plants. So what we keep asking, it's simple. If there's actually a job guarantee in this contract, and if there isn't, it's absolute negligence, why don't they just tell us how many jobs will this contract guarantee for Canadian auto workers?
Why? Tell us. Just tell us.
Mr. Mr. Speaker, our colleague knows very well, as my colleague, the Minister of Industry, has indicated, all of that information, of course, appropriately will be put before the Parliamentary Committee. Mr. Speaker, just because our colleagues on the other side assert some falsehood with great indignation doesn't mean that it's accurate. What is accurate, Mr. Speaker, is our government is standing up with the province of Ontario, the government of Premier Ford, to defend these workers, to defend all sectors of our economy. That's the work we do in Canada. That's the work we're doing in Washington. And Mr. Speaker, we'll continue to do that work.
The honourable member for Dufferin-Caledon.
That is unbelievably cold comfort for the 3,000 auto workers and their families whose jobs have vanished to Donald Trump's America after the Prime Minister's meeting with Donald Trump. They have to think, how am I paying my mortgage? How am I going to put food on the table? And these are the kinds of answers these Liberals give. It's a very simple question. $15 billion went to Stellantis. And in that $15 billion, if you had a clue how to negotiate, you would have included a guarantee of Canadian jobs. We don't need to wait until these contracts are released. This member should know the answer. Is there a job guarantee for Canadian auto workers? Yes or no?
None. No guarantees. They'll send you the model from over there.
We understand that our Conservative colleagues on the other side of the aisle don't like to work with Premier Ford and his government. On this side of the House, Mr. Speaker, we will work with all premiers, every political stripe, groups representing workers and businesses, precisely to defend those businesses from the unjustified tariffs imposed for the American administration. We'll do that work in Canada, Mr. Speaker, and good news, we're also doing that work in Washington, D.C.
The honourable member for Mégantic-L'Érable-Lobinière. He's 10 years ago, this Liberal government was elected on a commitment, one specific one. It would run very small deficits and then balance the book during its first term. A promise that generated investment here in Canada. 10 years later, Mr. Speaker, what about this promise? Liberal debt has doubled, and Canada has the lowest growth in the G7 per capita. Will this Prime Minister at least keep his promise so that the next deficit will not exceed 40%?
They were on it today.
The Honourable Government House Leader. Obviously, the member across the way will have to wait for the budget to see the figures and the investment that will stem from this. But what we have said during our election campaign, and it remains our commitment, is that we will spend less to invest more. We'll build Canada strong and focus on major projects, on job creation in all regions of this country. And the member across the way is invited to read this document properly that we'll be presenting on November 4th. The Honourable.
Alrighty. Let's stop it right here. I think that's a nice, let's see, hold on. Yeah, just a little bit left. Yeah, they're just gonna wrap it up, but we are good for today. I want to say thank you for joining me on the reveal. And have a good evening. I'll see you back again on the Saga Reveal. Same tube time, same tube channel. And with that, a good evening to you all.